The snack that never woke him up. Have you ever gone to bed feeling perfectly fine, only to wake up the next morning not quite yourself, with a racing heart, tight chest, or a strange heaviness in your legs? Or worse, what if one night you simply didn't wake up at all? This isn't a scare tactic. It's a real story. One that happened to Walter, a 78-year-old grandfather from Michigan. He walked every day, never missed a checkup, and followed his doctor's advice to the letter. But one habit, his favorite bedtime snack, was silently damaging his heart. He passed away in his sleep. No warning, no second chance. The autopsy revealed what his family couldn't believe. It wasn't age, it wasn't stress, it was food. You see, as we get older, our bodies process food very differently, especially at night. Our blood vessels are more sensitive, our heart doesn't recover the way it used to. And even the smallest choices, like a slice of cheese or a few crackers, can trigger dangerous inflammation, blood pressure spikes, or even a fatal heart rhythm while we sleep. And here's the most shocking part. Thousands of seniors die each year, not from disease, but from something they ate just hours before going to bed. That's why in this video, we're going to walk through 8 everyday foods that are putting seniors over 65 at risk. Foods that might be sitting in your kitchen right now, including one that led directly to the death of a healthy, active man who simply had the wrong snack at the wrong time. We'll explain what's happening inside your body, why these foods become dangerous after 65, and most importantly, what to eat instead. No prescriptions, no complicated routines, just simple changes. Because this isn't about restriction, it's about staying alive and waking up tomorrow with a strong, steady heartbeat. So take a deep breath, check what's on your nightstand, and let's begin. Part 2, processed cheese, the sneaky snack that strangles your sleep. Is your innocent cheese and cracker habit quietly suffocating your heart at night? Processed cheese and high-sodium dairy products may seem harmless, but they create a perfect storm in the aging body, causing dangerous fluid retention, spiking blood pressure, and making the heart work overtime while you sleep. How seniors think about this. For many older adults, cheese is a comfort, a little slice in the evening, a small pleasure that brings back memories of simpler times. You might think, it's just cheese. I've eaten it all my life. But after 65, your body's ability to regulate sodium, fat, and water retention changes dramatically. What once was harmless might now be hazardous. According to the American Heart Association, processed cheese products contain high levels of sodium and saturated fat, a deadly combination when consumed before bedtime. During sleep, your body naturally lowers blood pressure and heart rate, but high sodium disrupts that rhythm, causing nighttime blood pressure surges, fluid accumulation in the chest, and increased strain on the heart muscle. Dr. Richard Stein, a cardiologist at New York University, explains, "At night, your blood vessels are more vulnerable. High sodium dairy triggers a spike in blood volume, forcing the heart to pump harder, often unnoticed until it's too late." Meet Elizabeth, a 67-year-old retired school teacher. She lived a quiet, peaceful life, read before bed, sipped chamomile tea, and had one small routine she never questioned: cheese and crackers. Then the nightmares began. Not the kind you dream, but the kind you wake up from gasping for air. At 2 a.m., she would jolt awake, chest heavy, breath shallow, unsure if it was anxiety or something worse. Her doctor ran tests, heart was fine, lungs clear, nothing made sense. Until one cardiologist asked her, "What do you eat before bed?" When she mentioned cheese, he raised his eyebrows. They ran a nighttime blood pressure monitor. The results were shocking. Her blood pressure spiked 30 points between 2 and 4 a.m. Why? Because the sodium in her nightly cheese was triggering fluid buildup in her chest, pressing on her lungs and stressing her heart. 2 weeks after cutting processed cheese, the episode stopped. "I thought I was doing everything right," Elizabeth says. I never imagined cheese could be the reason I couldn't breathe at night. What to do instead? Practical substitution. If you must have something creamy or savory at night, try a small serving of fresh, low-sodium mozzarella or a handful of unsalted walnuts or almonds for healthy fat and magnesium. These choices don't trigger fluid retention or strain your heart and may even support better sleep. That slice of cheese might seem harmless, but is it worth the risk of not waking up tomorrow? So tonight, when you open your fridge and reach for that familiar snack, ask yourself, is it comfort or is it costing me more than I realize? Because cheese isn't the only culprit. In fact, the next food might shock you even more, because it's often found in the very bowl we call comfort before bed. Let's talk about sugar. Part 3. Sugary cereals and desserts, sweet dreams or heart shock. Could that cookie before bed be setting off a dangerous roller coaster inside your heart? High sugar cereals and desserts may feel like a sweet reward after a long day, but they wreak havoc on the aging heart during sleep. Sudden glucose spikes and crashes can trigger heart palpitations, arrhythmias, and even stroke-level stress in seniors over 65. How seniors think about this? It's just a treat, a little cereal, a cookie, a scoop of ice cream. It helps me feel calm before bed, many seniors say. But here's the catch. After age 65, blood sugar doesn't behave the way it used to. The body becomes more insulin resistant, and what used to be a harmless snack now turns into a metabolic ambush at 3 a.m. According to sleep studies from the Mayo Clinic Sleep Center, eating sugary foods before bedtime causes glucose to spike sharply, followed by a crash, often during deep sleep stages when the heart is most vulnerable. Dr. Veron Summers, who leads geriatric sleep research at Mayo Clinic, explains, "These glucose swings don't just affect insulin, they place enormous stress on the cardiovascular system during the hours it's trying to repair itself. When blood sugar crashes around 2 to 4 a.m., it triggers the body's fight-or-flight response. Elevated heart rate, increased cortisol, irregular heartbeat. For a senior, that response can be fatal." Story of Raymond, 71, Florida. Raymond was a widower, living alone in a quiet suburb of Tampa. Every night after dinner, he would pour a small bowl of sweetened cereal. "It helped me feel less lonely," he said. But what he didn't know was that this routine was pushing his heart closer to disaster. His doctor, puzzled by Raymond's fatigue and occasional nighttime dizziness, recommended a continuous glucose monitor. What it revealed was shocking. At 10 p.m., Raymond's blood sugar would spike to pre-diabetic levels. By 3 a.m., it would plummet. Hard, leaving his heart scrambling for stability. "I had no idea," Raymond said, "that a little cereal could mess with my heart like that." After switching to a low-sugar bedtime snack, those crashes stopped. So did the early morning dizziness. Practical substitution. If you crave something sweet before bed, try this. 1 small apple with a teaspoon of almond butter. The fiber slows digestion, the healthy fat stabilizes sugar, and you still get that satisfying taste. Or a bowl of plain Greek yogurt with a sprinkle of cinnamon. These alternatives don't trigger glucose spikes, and they support muscle repair and calmness during sleep. And a question. That cookie might feel like love, but could it also be the reason your heart pounds in the dark? Tonight, when you reach for something sweet, remember, you're not just feeding your taste buds, you're feeding your heart's future. And if sugar can trigger heart shock, what happens when you add salt, preservatives, and nitrates on top of that? In the next section, we'll uncover the most dangerous food on our list, the one directly linked to nighttime heart attacks, and it's probably hiding in your fridge right now. Let's talk about processed meats. Part 4. Processed meats. The silent killer lurking in your fridge. Could a few slices of salami with crackers be the reason you never wake up? Processed meats like bacon, salami, and hot dogs contain nitrates and preservatives that convert into toxic compounds while you sleep, leading to inflammation, blood vessel damage, and fatal heart events in seniors. How seniors think about this. This is my treat while I watch the news. It's just a few slices. I don't eat the whole package. Sound familiar? For many seniors, processed meats feel like a modest indulgence. Quick, salty, satisfying. But after 65, the heart and blood vessels become more fragile, and even small doses of nitrate-heavy meats can set off a chain reaction that peaks when the body is at rest. According to cardiologists from Johns Hopkins Medicine, processed meats contain sodium nitrates, which convert into nitrosamines in the body, compounds that trigger oxidative stress, systemic inflammation, and tightened arteries. Dr. Michael Miller, Director of Preventive Cardiology at the University of Maryland, warns, "The damage done by nitrates doesn't show up on the label. It shows up in emergency rooms at 2 a.m. when seniors suffer unprovoked heart events. At night, the heart is supposed to rest. But under the influence of these compounds, it's under attack instead." Story of Thomas, 70 Yagan. Thomas had always been active. He played chess, gardened, and loved watching the evening news with a little snack, crackers, and a few slices of salami. To his family, he was the picture of health. Until one morning, he didn't wake up. His widow, Carol, shared that the night before, he was in good spirits. Nothing unusual, but the autopsy showed elevated levels of nitrates and vascular inflammation. His cardiologist confirmed the salami, a habit repeated night after night, was the likely trigger of his fatal midnight heart attack. Carol still keeps a framed photo of him next to the fridge. She hasn't bought processed meat since. What to do instead? Practical substitution. If you crave protein before bed, choose a few slices of plain, unseasoned baked chicken breast or a hard-boiled egg with a sprinkle of pepper, not salt. These options provide clean protein without the chemical load and support muscle repair during sleep. You don't have to eat like a monk, but if one small change could save your life, wouldn't it be worth opening a different drawer in the fridge tonight? Because that salami may taste familiar, but it's your heart that's paying the price for every bite. And while processed meat is dangerous for your heart, the next food can actually mimic a heart attack, making it hard to know when something is truly wrong. Let's talk about spice. It's flavorful, yes, but could it also be a fiery trap for your aging heart? Part 5. Spicy foods. Heartburn or heart attack? When your chest burns at 2 a.m., how do you know if it's indigestion or something far more dangerous? Spicy foods can cause severe acid reflux and vagus nerve stimulation, a combination that may mimic, or in some cases, trigger a real heart attack, especially during sleep in older adults. How seniors think about this. Spice is the only thing I still enjoy eating. It gives my food flavor. It makes me feel alive. For many seniors, spicy food isn't just a taste. It's a reminder of youth, culture, and vitality. But the aging digestive system is slower, more sensitive, and more likely to respond with a violent backlash when fire meets fatigue. What once added zest may now add danger. Research from the National Institute on Aging reveals that spicy foods consumed before bedtime significantly increase the risk of acid reflux, especially when lying down. More critically, this acid triggers the vagus nerve, which connects the gut to the heart. The result? Chest tightness, shortness of breath, nighttime palpitations, in some cases, cardiac spasms that mimic a heart attack. Dr. Anil Rusky, chief gastroenterologist at Columbia University, explains, in older adults, spicy food doesn't just irritate the stomach, it activates a full-body stress response that peaks during recumbent sleep. That means the real damage isn't happening while you eat, it's happening hours later in silence. Story of Patricia, 68, Arizona. Patricia loved tacos. Every Tuesday night it was her ritual: spicy beef, jalapenos, salsa, the works. She didn't feel any problem until around 2 a.m. She woke up gasping, heart pounding, sweating. Her husband called 911, thinking it was a heart attack. At the ER, they ruled out cardiac arrest, but diagnosed severe reflux and esophageal inflammation. The doctor explained the repeated nighttime strain from spicy meals could eventually cause true heart trauma, not just imitation. That night changed everything, Patricia said. It wasn't just heartburn, it was a warning shot. Now she's switched to flavorful but gentle alternatives and hasn't had a scare since. What to do instead? Practical substitution. Love flavor? You don't need to give it up. Instead of hot chili or cayenne before bed, try fresh herbs like basil, thyme, oregano, or dill. Mild spices such as turmeric or cinnamon, which reduce inflammation. Eat at least 3 hours before lying down. Flavor should lift your spirits, not your blood pressure. The next time your chest burns in the night, will you know if it's spice or your heart asking for help? Why roll the dice night after night for the sake of heat, when there are safer ways to spice up your meals? And while spicy foods confuse your heart and stomach, the next habit actually starves your brain and heart of oxygen while you sleep. It's a habit many seniors believe helps them relax, but it may be slowly shutting them down. Let's talk about alcohol. Part 6. Alcohol. When a nightcap becomes a heart trap, that soothing glass of wine before bed, could it be the reason your heart is silently suffocating at night? Alcohol may feel relaxing in the moment, but for seniors, it causes oxygen levels to drop, heart rate to rise, and breathing to become dangerously shallow during sleep, creating a hidden cardiovascular hazard. How seniors think about this. It helps me fall asleep. I've earned this little ritual. It's how I unwind. For many older adults, a drink at the end of the day feels like a deserved comfort, even a routine of dignity and peace. But the aging body doesn't process alcohol the way it used to. What once relaxed the nerves now quietly robs your heart of oxygen and resilience. According to sleep research from the Stanford Sleep Medicine Center, alcohol disrupts deep sleep in 2 critical ways. 1. It relaxes the throat muscles, increasing the risk of partial airway collapse, leading to sleep apnea, even in those without prior diagnosis. 2. It lowers oxygen saturation in the blood by up to 15% in seniors, especially during deep, restorative stages of sleep. Dr. Rafael Pilo, clinical professor at Stanford, explains, alcohol doesn't just fragment sleep, it forces the heart to pump harder all night, working overtime in a low-oxygen environment. For older adults with existing heart conditions, or even undiagnosed vulnerabilities, this is like running a marathon while holding your breath. Story of Howard, 73, Ohio. Howard, a retired accountant, had 2 small glasses of wine every evening while reading. He believed it helped him sleep. But over time, he noticed something troubling. He woke up more tired, he snored louder, and sometimes he woke up gasping. His doctor ordered a sleep study, and the results were shocking. On nights Howard drank, his oxygen levels dropped dozens of times per hour, dipping below safe thresholds, causing heart strain. I thought I was relaxing my body, he said, but I was actually putting it under silent stress. After replacing his wine with tart cherry juice, Howard noticed deeper sleep and more energy in the morning. More importantly, his heart rate stabilized, and his cardiologist confirmed he had avoided a major stroke risk. Practical substitution. Looking to wind down without the danger? Try these safer options. Tart cherry juice naturally boosts melatonin and improves sleep quality. Chamomile or passion flower tea, proven to reduce nighttime anxiety and support relaxation. A light evening ritual like soft music or reading a favorite book. Your nervous system can still relax without asking your heart to pay the price. That nightcap may feel like a small indulgence, but is it relaxing you or quietly suffocating you from the inside out? What if you could still enjoy the peace without putting your heart at risk every single night? And while alcohol slows your breathing and drops your oxygen, the next item on our list may seem even more innocent because it's often seen as a harmless pleasure. But even one small bite of it can keep your heart racing well past midnight. Let's talk about caffeine. Yes, even from chocolate. Part 7. When chocolate or coffee lingers too long. Still awake at 2 a.m. with your heart racing? The real culprit might not be stress, but that piece of dark chocolate you had after dinner. Caffeine, even in small amounts like a cup of tea or a square of chocolate, can linger in your bloodstream for 5 to 7 hours, raising your heart rate, blood pressure, and risk of arrhythmia, especially dangerous during deep sleep in seniors. How seniors think about this, but it's only a small piece of chocolate. I stopped drinking coffee at noon. Isn't that enough? As we age, our metabolism slows, and our body takes longer to process stimulants. What feels harmless may be building up into a silent storm during your most vulnerable hours of rest. Studies from Harvard Medical School's sleep lab show that caffeine consumed even 6 hours before bedtime can significantly increase nighttime blood pressure, disrupt heart rate variability, trigger palpitations and nighttime anxiety, reduce deep sleep, which is essential for heart and brain repair. Dr. Charles Chisler, Chief of Sleep Medicine at Brigham and Women's Hospital, explains, caffeine has a half-life of 5 to 7 hours. For older adults, that means your body is still fighting off its effects long after you've gone to bed. Even a small indulgence, tea, soda, chocolate, can agitate your nervous system and keep your heart working instead of resting. Story of Meredith, 70, Washington. Meredith couldn't understand why she was waking up every night at 2 a.m. with her heart pounding. Her blood work was normal. Her medications were stable. She didn't feel anxious until her doctor asked, "Do you eat anything sweet after dinner?" Yes, she loved dark chocolate, a piece or two every night, right before bed. Turns out that tiny treat contained over 20 milligrams of caffeine, more than enough to jolt her system hours later. "I never thought chocolate could be this powerful," Meredith said. "But after I stopped, I started sleeping through the night, and my heart finally felt calm again." What to do instead? Practical substitution. Craving something comforting before bed? Try these heart-friendly alternatives. Banana slices with cinnamon. Contains magnesium and potassium for muscle and heart relaxation. Warm, unsweetened herbal tea, like rooibos, peppermint, or chamomile, all naturally caffeine-free. A few steamed pear slices, soothing and gentle on the gut. These choices support restorative sleep without sabotaging your cardiovascular system. We often think of caffeine as a morning problem, but could it be the midnight thief stealing your rest and stressing your heart? Tonight, when you reach for that chocolate, ask yourself, is this bite worth another night of tension, fatigue, and invisible risk? If caffeine keeps your heart racing, the next danger on our list forces your heart to fight an entirely different battle: inflammation. And the source? It's golden, crispy, and far too common on senior dinner plates. Let's talk about fried foods and why they might be the most dangerous part of your day. Part 8. Fried foods. When dinner follows you into a dangerous sleep. What if the real danger of your dinner isn't what you ate, but when you ate it? Fried foods consumed at night cause a surge in inflammation, elevate blood lipids, and place overnight strain on the heart. This combination makes midnight heart attacks far more likely, especially for adults over 65. How seniors think about this? It's comfort food. I've earned it. I don't eat fried stuff all the time, just once in a while, with dinner. The problem is, even if it's occasional, even if it's a small portion, your aging body reacts differently now. What your heart could once tolerate, it may now interpret as an attack. Research from the Cleveland Clinic's cardiovascular department shows that fried foods raise inflammatory markers by up to 25% during nighttime hours, increase triglyceride levels, which thickens the blood and stresses the heart, interfere with blood vessel flexibility, making it harder for arteries to expand when needed, disrupt restorative sleep as your body diverts energy to digestion instead of repair. Dr. Stephen Nissen, chair of cardiovascular medicine at Cleveland Clinic, explains, eating high-fat fried meals at night floods the bloodstream with lipids, forcing the heart to work harder at a time when it should be resting. For seniors, this can be catastrophic. Story of Gregory, 69, Texas. Gregory was the kind of guy who never missed a walk. He didn't drink, didn't smoke. By all accounts, he was healthy. But one night after eating fried chicken for dinner, he collapsed in his sleep. His family was stunned. No previous signs of heart trouble. But his doctors weren't. They found elevated levels of postprandial, after-meal triglycerides and inflammation, a perfect storm that struck during deep sleep. The doctor said I was lucky to survive, Gregory recalls. It wasn't the years behind me that nearly killed me. It was that one dinner. Now, Gregory bakes or steams most meals, and he hasn't had another scare since. What to do instead? Practical substitution. If you're craving something crispy or satisfying in the evening, try baked sweet potato wedges with olive oil and herbs, air-popped popcorn with minimal salt, steamed veggies with a sprinkle of nutritional yeast for savory flavor. These options are gentle on your arteries, reduce inflammation, and still bring comfort without consequence. You don't have to give up fried foods forever. But if one dinner could stop your heart while you sleep, wouldn't you want to know? Tonight, before you pick up that crispy piece of chicken or fries, ask yourself, is this the last thing I want my heart to remember today? Because fried foods aren't the only late-night trap. Sometimes it's not dinner at all, but the light snack we mindlessly munch just before bed. It's salty, crunchy, and often labeled low-fat. But for seniors, it may be the final straw for the heart. Let's talk about packaged snacks. Part 9. Packaged snacks. The salty trap that spikes your blood pressure in the dark. That innocent handful of crackers or chips before bed. It may be the quietest but most dangerous habit on this list. High-sodium packaged snacks, even in small portions, can trigger nighttime blood pressure spikes in seniors, raising the risk of stroke and heart attack while the body sleeps and blood vessels are at their weakest. How seniors think about this. It's just a nibble to keep me from waking up hungry. I don't eat a lot, just a few chips while I read or watch TV. The truth is, it doesn't take a lot. After 65, even moderate amounts of sodium before bed can overwhelm the body's natural ability to regulate blood pressure at night. And it happens quietly, without any symptoms, until it's too late. According to the American College of Cardiology, seniors who consume salty snacks within 3 hours of bedtime experience nighttime systolic blood pressure spikes of up to 15 points, reduced vascular elasticity, meaning blood vessels can't adapt to pressure changes, increased risk of silent strokes and nocturnal cardiac events. Dr. Wilbert Arono, geriatric cardiologist and professor of medicine, explains, the body's blood pressure regulation system is naturally compromised at night. Adding a sodium load before bed is like putting a heavy weight on an already tired heart. These snacks may seem minor, but they're often the tipping point for seniors with borderline hypertension. Story of Deborah, 75, Illinois. Deborah loved a little crunch before bed, a few whole grain crackers, sometimes pretzels. It made her feel full and cozy. Then her doctor ran overnight blood pressure monitoring, and what he found startled them both. Between 2 and 4 a.m., Deborah's systolic blood pressure would shoot up to stroke-level readings. She had no symptoms, no headaches, nothing that felt off. The culprit? Her salty bedtime snack. "I was shocked," she said. "I always thought I was eating healthy. I had no idea something so small could cause such a spike." After replacing her snacks with low-sodium alternatives, her blood pressure stabilized within days. What to do instead? Practical substitution. Need something to munch before bed? Try cucumber slices with a sprinkle of lemon, a small bowl of unsalted air-popped popcorn, a slice of avocado on whole grain toast, lightly seasoned with herbs instead of salt. These options offer fiber, healthy fats, and hydration without sending your blood pressure soaring. That crunch might help you fall asleep, but is it quietly raising your risk of never waking up? Tonight, when your hand reaches into that bag, pause, because that bite of salt may be what breaks the balance your heart is fighting to maintain. Now you've seen the truth behind these 8 common foods. But this isn't a video about fear. It's about power. Because what you eat tonight might just be the reason you wake up smiling tomorrow. Let's bring it all together in our final thoughts. You've just discovered 8 everyday foods that seem harmless, but for people over 65, they can quietly turn into the most dangerous part of the day. Not because you're weak, not because you did anything wrong, but because the body changes with age and no one teaches us how to adjust with it. Walter, Elizabeth, Thomas, Patricia, they were real people. People who just wanted to sleep well, live simply, and enjoy their favorite things. And they paid a price no one should ever have to pay for habits that could have been changed with just a little knowledge. But now you know. And that means you have something even more powerful than a prescription. You have choice. I want to tell you something I wish someone had said to every senior before their first health scare. Sleep should be your sanctuary, not a battlefield. Your heart deserves peace at night, not pressure. Your breath deserves ease, not resistance. And you deserve to wake up each morning alive, well, and unafraid. These small changes, what you eat, when you eat, how you care for your body before bed, they may seem minor, but they are acts of self-respect, of wisdom, of strength. You don't need medications to begin protecting your heart. You need clarity, courage, and consistency. And you already have those. You're here. You're learning. You're choosing to do better, starting tonight. Now I'd love to hear from you. Type 1 if you've eaten any of these foods before bed. Type 2 if you're planning to make a change starting tonight. Or type 3 if you've already made some of these swaps and you feel the difference. Your comment could help someone else feel less alone, and your story might just save another life. If this video brought you clarity, give it a like. Subscribe and turn on the bell, because next time we're uncovering the 3 morning habits that either heal your heart or hurt it. Until then, may your heart rest easy, and may tomorrow greet you with strength, clarity, and another beautiful breath.